Welcome to our webinar. I'm Andrea Zebra BI, and today I'll present our 19th webinar in the Zebra BI webinar series, where we are exploring the world of reporting, dashboarding in Power BI and in Excel. This time I'll present my top 5 favorite DAX tricks for building dashboards in Power BI. Namely, in the previous webinars, a lot of you have asked me, oh, how did you do that trick? How do you do the year-to-date slicer? Can you change the measures dynamically in charts? And you know, tricks like that that actually can enhance the usability and the user friendliness of your dashboards in a really massive way. I have seen a lot of dashboards in Power BI, and the thing is, it's a fantastic product, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. And I've seen a lot of colorful, beautiful dashboards, but they tend to have a few problems. First of all, sometimes they're just simply not effective enough. And the other thing is they tend to get really complicated when you want to build something. People are using bookmarks, and you know, they are hiding and hiding charts and putting lots of elements on the page, which is really complicated to build and even more complicated to maintain. So that's why I decided I'll share a few DAX modeling best practices and tricks, which will hopefully speed up the development of your dashboard pages, of your reports, and will make them a lot easier to maintain in the future. All right, so let's dive into my topic. All right, my agenda for today, quite simple. So I'll show you the top 5 tricks. Actually, this will be a little bit more technical webinar, and I will definitely try to build a practical sample of a dashboard in this, you know, in like 40 to 45 minutes. Hopefully I make it. And along the way, I'll explain some of the DAX formulas, and especially how to use DAX and how to use these pieces of a DAX model in Power BI in a smart way to enhance your dashboards, right? So that's my topic for today. After the webinar, we will share all the resources and the download links. I'm happy that today our Chief Technology Officer, Mitya from Zebra BI, is here with us. So he will help you in the chat. If you have any kind of questions, you can just go ahead and you know, type away your questions. And while I'm doing the presentation, Mitya will just try to follow up with you with the chat, send all the links and so on. Otherwise, I'll just make a wrap up at the end of the webinar, where we'll also answer your questions. If there's anything unanswered, we'll do it at the end. So just type your questions into your questions box. And yes, we will send you the recording. We are recording this, so the recording will be available tomorrow or day after tomorrow, along with all the PBIX examples that I'm gonna build today, and also the DAX code, right? So I'll do this. All right, I'll just switch to Power BI now and show you a couple of examples that I'm trying to build right now live today. All right. Well, first of all, Power BI, dashboards in Power BI. There are a couple of things. We'll start with some basics, like just getting your time series right, getting your calendar right, your month, quarters, years, days, weekdays, and stuff like that. That's actually the, you know, the core element of every DAX model is a good calendar dimension. So we'll just start off with the basics. Once we have that, we'll gradually start to build things like actual versus previous comparison, right? So we'll calculate the previous year values, do the comparison, so you can actually see, like, for example, here I just click one business unit and we'll see, all right, what's the monthly comparison? Of course, you can view this in different different ways, right? But the important thing is just getting the model right, so you have the right information and so on. So for example, here I have my actual value. So this is like the revenue, the sales, and this is the previous year's sales, and this is my growth from previous year in absolute terms, and this is my growth in previous year in percentages, right? So you can just do a monthly comparison versus previous year. Very, very basic, but you need to know your DAX to do this in Power BI. Next thing, the switch, very simple. So you just switch from monthly to year-to-date results, right? So for example, if you have a monthly development like this, and you compare this to previous year, it's really not obvious what's going on. I mean, you see monthly values, but how does this accumulate to year-to-date values? What's the final result at the end? So if you do have a year-to-date switch, you can actually switch the view like this, and so now I have the accumulated values, actual versus my previous year, and then here at the end I have a clear result. You see, so it's 15.7%. At the year end, it's the growth, the actual versus previous year, right? So we'll do things like that. The switches. Then of course the monthly values, how does this how do the slicers affect the whole dashboard page and so on, and how to build the whole thing in a quite easy way. For example, here I basically have just two visuals, right? Two visuals, and everything else is just kind of done in the model itself. So I can switch to the year to date. I can switch my KPI. So for example, this is now the revenue. If I want to see the whole page for the gross profit, right, just click on the gross profit, everything will change, and now I'm observing the gross profit and so on. And we'll build a few pages that just take advantage of this technique, of this model. So it's really easy to build with the same model, different views, monthly views, trends, and structured tables, comparisons. So we'll also throw in the comparison to previous to the plan, right? So these are like the three most important categories, just previous year, actual, plan, and then you can build nice variance analysis reports like this one, which are completely dynamic. So you can just dive into the details, dive into the next level like that. You can actually change, the order, like you can have previous year, actual, plan, and then you can have the variance in between. So you can put so you have previous year, then you have the variance, and then you have the actual and the variance to plan, and you can just shuffle things around and reorder a little bit, and that's it. You've built yourself a nice variance report, and then this is now for the month of September and year to date, right? If I just want to see the monthly result, here it is. But if I want to see the cumulative result from January to September, it's here as well. Plus a few more tricks if there's time for that. So let me start with a completely empty Power BI, file, and just try to build at least maybe 70% of what I've shown right now. All right, let's start with a completely blank Power BI. All right, it's coming up. All right, that's it. Empty page, completely empty page. So the first step, of course, is just to get some data. I have my data in an Excel document, so I'll just connect to my Excel here. All right, let me find this. So it's actually the sales, it's a sales demo database. So here it is. Okay. All right. I've got a couple of tables here. So most importantly, here's my sales. So this is my sales data. It's actually 3 years worth of sales data from 2016 to 2018. It's actually daily sales. So I have a date field here, and then I have some product IDs, customers, salespersons, business units, and so on. And then I have three major KPIs, three measures, the revenue, the costs, and gross profit. Plus, I have an additional column called scenario, which indicates whether this is, actual data or planned data. It's all joined together already in the same table. So we call this a fact table. And then I have typical dimensions like the business units, with a business unit and, some structure of the business units, the divisions, groups, and so on. I have customers, actually lots of customers from different regions and countries, products, salespersons, account managers, and so on. So I'll just load everything into Power BI and we'll start analyzing this, trying to build a model, trying to make sense out of it and gain some insights and prepare a nice dashboard that will, that you'll be able to share with other people, with the end users, with your management, and so on. All right, everything is loaded into my Power BI. So if I switch to my data panel here, I see all my tables. So here are my tables, business units, customers, products, and so on. If you switch to the last tab here, this is the relationship. So this is actually my model here. And the model in Power BI should not look too confusing. I still think that the so-called star schema model is actually still the best way how to model things also in Power BI. So I think that's kind of the best practice. So when you're just importing your tables and so on, try to already, when you load data into Power BI, try to plan for a star schema, which means that you have one big table with one big fact table, so-called fact table, with all the facts, the measures, and then you have all your dimensions around it. All right. Power BI has already created some relationships here, and I have my date field here. So if we just try to explore this in Power BI, just try to make some sort of, let's say I have my revenue. I'll just click on the revenue, and all right, I've got a column here, and if I should have the date field here. Here it is. All right, so I'm doing some sort of analysis with native Power BI visuals. I see the trends. So these are the yearly values, and you can drill down into this and so on. And if you're just trying to make some sense out of this data, it's really not. I mean, you can see that there's sort of a trend, yearly trend. So my revenue is improving over time, but it's really hard to say. The labels are problematic here, and whatever you do, if you just maybe this would be the best in just a line chart, right? But this is really not an analysis. Once you start building reports, dashboards, you have a goal in your mind, especially in like monthly reporting. I'll try to build a monthly report, right? You first of all, you need to add a comparison, right? Once you compare one value with another value, then you start to understand, is this better or worse than planned, right? How much better? How much worse? Is it better than, what's the growth from the previous year, and so on? Once you have the comparison in your model, then you can actually start analyzing things and communicating them, right? So we will need to build the comparisons and everything else. So the first thing that we need to do, although you see that if you just have a normal date field here, you will see the trends and so on, but that's more or less what you can do. All right, so we will go back to our model. And first of all, so that's it's not really a trick, but that's my first point here, the calendar dimension. So in Power BI, every good model in Power BI starts with a calendar dimension. And so that's why we'll just switch here to the data view, and I'll just show you how to do this in DAX, and we'll start with some DAX formulas here. So just switch here to the modeling tab, and we will create a new table, and I'll just call it the calendar. And you know, while I'm building this, you'll get the idea why this is important and so on. So this is my first DAX function for tonight. Just calendar. There's a function called calendar which actually builds a list of the dates. So that's your first option here. So you can just say, all right, let's build a calendar from the 1st of January, like that, to 2018. So that's the end of my data. It's like 2018, end of 2018, enter, and this then will return a simple column called the date, right? That's exactly what we already have in our sales table, right? But why I'm doing this is, now that I have this column, I can add new columns. All right, so I just clicked new column, and now I can add my own time, you know, time functions, time columns with time. Like the first one we'll just call the year, and we'll just extract the year from the date, right? So that's really simple. So these are the pure basics, you know, for those of you who are more or less beginners in Power BI. So this is the first thing. So the function year will extract this for me, and I'll just refer to my date field here. All right, and that's it. And this simply returns the year here. All right. The second thing is, I'll actually do this. Now this. Oh, webcam closed. The webcam is gone. Do you still see the? All right, the webcam is gone. I hope you still see my screen. My screen. Webcam. All right. Okay, good. Hopefully my webcam is back and you're still seeing my screen. All right. Good. So the function year just returned the number, the year number. All right, now I'll just do this in a format. Use the format function, which actually can format the date in a number of different ways. So to get the year, you just type the year for Y letters, and now this has returned again the year, but this time it's text. All right, so you know, this is the basic way how you just, now we'll add another column, we'll call it the month, right? And again, we'll use the format formula, format the date, and this time we'll use the I'll just do it like this. All right, and so on. So this is how you can now build your custom columns, which you will use in your reports, right? So the month, the year, and so on. The quarter, of course. Let's just add the quarter as well. So this is like so now again I'll use the format date. Oh, sorry, the field date. All right, and Q for quarter. This returns the number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just the numbers. If you want to have like Q1, Q2, Q3, and so on. So this is actually where you completely control the labels, how the labels look like, right? So I would add the Q here. So the letter Q in front of the number, and you do that by concatenating. So you can just type in the text Q and then join this with the AND operator together with the number, enter, and you get the Q1, right? So that's the standard way in Power BI. Most of people do this. There's even easier way. You can simply add the letter Q here, but you need to escape this letter. If you do it like this, then you see this, the backslash means that it's, you know, the native, it's actually the letter Q, and then it's followed by the number of the quarter. So this is now the equivalent of that. All right, there are other functions like weekday, week num for week number, and so on, that you can use to build other columns in your time or date or calendar dimension, however you call it. There's another way how to do this. I'll just show you. I'll just now delete everything that I've done so far. So the calendar, I'll delete this. I'll just show you an alternative way in DAX how to do this. There's actually a function which can help you. I think I have it here. All right. There's a function called add columns, which can actually add all the columns within this function. So you use the add columns function, and then you say, all right, the calendar. We'll actually use the calendar auto function. All right, and then just add all the columns at once. So what I'll do now is simply copy the whole formula here. All right, and now again, I'll say new table like I did before, but this time I'll just build everything together, just paste it inside. And this is the DAX that I'll, you know, just share with everybody. And now this has built the whole calendar table with all the columns and so on. And you can simply, you know, change here. How do you want your years to look like? Like, do you use 4 letters or 2 letters, 2 numbers, and so on. The calendar auto is a version of the calendar function which actually automatically searches for the dates in your database and will just automatically find the minimum, maximum date and just build everything automatically, right? So this is the kind of the easy way in Power BI. Just use the DAX functions. So this will work like in 80% of cases, I guess. Otherwise, there are other options to build your calendar dimension actually in Power Query, which is another part of Power BI that I don't intend to cover today because my title is DAX tricks, right? So, all right. So this is the calendar. That was number 1. And what have we gained now? So now we've got the calendar dimension. So instead of using the date field from, you know, from your sales table and so on, you're using the calendar dimension, right? And now you're much more flexible. So you can just say, all right, I want to see, you know, my sales by year. All right, this is not working still. Why is it not working? I don't have my yearly trend. Did you notice that everything is flat? Why is that? Because let's go back to my model. I have added my calendar dimension. So I have a new dimension, but it's not linked, it's not related to my data. So you need to click here on the date field and just link this, make a relationship to the sales table. So the date field here, the date field here. And while I'm doing this, I will actually hide this field, because from now on we will not use it anymore in the report. We'll just use the calendar dimension. All right, so now you see, now this is working. The sort order is not okay. All right, so this typical questions that we get from people who are starting in Power BI. Why is my sort order, you know, not correct? All right, for the years here on every visual, you know, you need to switch to your to your field that you want to sort by, and now sort ascending will sort the years correctly, right? If you do this for the month, there's another caveat here. So if you have a monthly view, all right, you need to just sort by the month, and you sort ascending, and what you got is not the right sort order. This is just an alphabetical sort order. So you need to tell Power BI how to sort the month. I mean, these are things that just, you know, look completely obvious to every Excel users and so on, but these are real, you know, challenges that people are facing when they start using Power BI. How you solve this? Actually, you can just solve it straight from your report view here. You click on your month. So these are my month labels. And now you go here to sort by column. You open this, and now you'll find your month number, which is also one column in my calendar. And now I'll say, all right, this month is now sorted by the month number. All right, so this is the way how you actually get your month sorted in Power BI. So these are absolute pure bare necessities in Power BI. All right, now we can start analyzing. All right, now we can start building dashboards and so on. So to do this, I will first import a few better visuals. These are the Zebra BI visuals. Let me show you. Let me import actually the Zebra BI visuals because we'll get much better results by using the Zebra BI visuals. All right, and at the end I'll also show you how to download the visuals and everything else. So at the moment I'll just import just two visuals from Zebra BI, which of course we are developing. And okay, so we'll do the same. So now we have the revenue by month, and I have other fields. So I'll use year as a slicer here. So, you know, the end user can just choose the year, which is a basic thing. So here I'll just switch to the slicer, and I'll use it as a drop down. So this will be just my first selection here, my first slicer, just year. So far, this is, you know, still quite boring. I can just change the year, and now I get some results here. All right, and now this is still very basic, just some monthly, you know, monthly development. You just see the shape of is it, you know, better in the summer or better in December or something like that. So you see some trends and outliers or things like that, but that's not enough. That's not enough. First of all, we'll compare this to previous year. All right, now that we have the calendar dimension, we can actually add another field, another measure for the previous year, which will calculate the previous year. So on top of my revenue, we'll build the revenue for previous year. All right. Actually, first I will I'll do something. First, I'll just do something. Well, let's just forget it. All right. I'll build, or let's do it. Actually, this actually here is not really my revenue, because in my database, in my sales, I actually have two types of data. I have plan data and actual data together jammed into the same table, which is kind of a problem. So for example, if I and it's in this column called scenario. So for example, if I just add the scenario here, you'll see that you see the actual, yeah, the actual data is one is the actual and the other one is the plan, right? So I need to first of all separate actual from the plan. So that's why I will build my first measure here, and we'll just click new measure. All right, and we'll call it revenue actual. All right, so this is the actual part of my data. And I'll do this by using, so first of all, we'll just sum all the revenue, the values of the revenue column. All right, like that. So that would be just, you know, normal measure, just pure measure without any kind of filtering. But now I need to filter it. That's why I'll make this a little bit bigger. So that's why I will use the formula called the calculate. All right, formula called calculate will now take the sum of my revenue field and then filter this. So I'll use another formula called filter, which will actually filter my sales table. So first of all, I type sales. This is my sales table, and I'll extract, and now I'll use the filter expression. So I'll use this scenario column, and I'll type my condition here. The scenario column should match actual. So all the rows that are labeled actual, this is my actual revenue here. A couple of more braces here, and now I have my revenue, my actual revenue. So now I will not use just, you know, the column here, but I will use this measure in my chart. So I'll actually throw out the old one and I'll throw in the actual. So this is now truly my actual sales in December 2017. Now that we have this, we can also create another measure for the previous year. All right, so with this, so now we'll say, all right, revenue previous year equals. So now I'll just take the revenue from actual and just shift the year for, you know, -1. So just 1 year back. And you do this by using the, again, the calculate formula. And we'll take my revenue, my actual revenue like this, which we just, you know, calculated before. And now we'll use, now we need the formula for the previous year. There are like 3 or 4 ways how you do this with DAX. I typically use the date add function, which is kind of the most versatile and just safest to work with. Otherwise, you can try other ones. There's actually a formula called previous year, which is easy to use, but has some caveats. Then you can use how is it called? The same period last year and the parallel period and a few others. But I just do this date add, and now you say, all right, my dates from the calendar. So your date field from the calendar, that's it. And we'll just shift it for 1 year back. That's why I type -1 here, and I just say, all right, -1 year, that's it. So this formula takes my revenue and just shifts it for 1 year back, close it, and I've got the revenue from previous year. All right, so this is now the basic condition, the minimal model in Power BI to start building your comparisons. All right, now I can just add this revenue for previous year into my visual, and now the magic starts to happen. Only now we can start building reports in Power BI, meaningful reports. Okay, so as you may have noticed, the visual has changed completely because now our visual understands that you have two values. You have actually have previous year. So what our visual did is it calculated, you know, the sum of previous year for the whole year 2017. So this is now, you know, 6.5 million. On the other side, we have the actuals, right, which is 8.1 million, and the visual already calculated the growth, and now everything else happens automatically, right? So now you have the growth from previous year in percent here. If you just click, you will have it in absolute values, or you just, you know, display both, and so on. So you have then the month over month, no, so year over year values for each variances for each month, the absolute ones here and the relative ones here. Okay, and now you can just simply choose to display this in different types of charts. So you can just do a simple line comparison. So this is my revenue. This is my previous year revenue. You can use area charts. You can use column charts with different types of layouts here. So just the first one is completely responsive. So if you just leave it in automatic way, all right, then it will behave responsively. So if there's a very limited space, you just have a column chart with the variances. So this is now the growth for each month here. And if you make it bigger, then the visual will calculate the relative growth for each year. So you see the relative variances here. And if it's even bigger, then it's displayed in a much better way, right? So and this is really nice because you can have a very small chart here, and you have other things around it, and then the user can simply use open this chart in the focus mode, and then everything is big, and the relative variances are calculated and so on, right? And all right, my personal favorite here would probably be this one with a waterfall chart. Sometimes it's good because it just focuses on the most important things. You can break the axis if you want, just to maybe temporarily see the variances in a better way or something. Otherwise, just don't do that. All right. And now we can start building dashboards by combining those, combining multiple visuals. All right, all I did is just enable the previous year comparison, and already now I can create a dashboard page. Like, for example, I'll take another visual and I'll just do a comparison to previous year by another dimension, right? I'll take my business units now to make this more interesting, and I'll add, for example, the group of business units, and we'll just do the comparison of actual versus previous year. All right, and you see again, our visual is completely responsive. So now you have the actual, you have the previous year in percent. You can simply sort, so you can do very interesting analysis already just with the two visuals and previous year comparison. So for example, you sort and you see the worst performing business units here, and then when you click here, you see the details in the monthly details, right? It's the pure basics, and this is what you need. So the skin, or you can just sort descending and do it like this, right? Now as you may have seen, we have we have very different business units here. So baby care, variables, audio, hardware, and so on. So it's kind of a mixture, because this is a company that deals with different types of businesses, and that's why it would help to add another hierarchy level here. So I just put the division into category just to understand this business better. So as you see, we have electronics here, electronics businesses, and then some personal care, maybe retail or something, with it's completely another business here. So you can now just click here on the level. So this is now the result for electronics, and then the variable and mobile and so on. So you see, this is already starting to make a little bit of sense, at least. Okay, let me. Maybe even better is not just to have one chart here, but just to present all the business units groups here. So what I'll do now is, in this right chart, I'll just add the group. Okay, and let's make this one a little bit smaller, and this one a little bit bigger. So it's just another way how you can build dashboard page. Okay, and so for example, now you see the trends for each. So this is the small multiple. So you see the trends of everything here. And once, if you just let me put this back to my favorite waterfall chart, which of course must look better. It will look much better if you clean it up with proper labels. Like for example, the units, you need to figure out your units. So I'll just report in thousands. Then it's much better to take the K, M, and B, you know, suffixes, which Power BI always puts in as default, just to put them in the title. So now I have my revenue and my revenue, you know, versus previous year in K, right? So this is also better. Then I'll reduce the number of decimal places. So this is already better. In some cases, you can also reduce the label density to make things clear, you know, cleaner and so on. All right, so this is now better. Some charts need a little bit more space, but you can actually control this also by setting the category width, right? You can control the category width by setting the fixed category width. So now you can say, all right, my columns, you know, maximum width of my columns is 22. So now all the columns are exactly 22 pixels, you know, wide. All right, and this now makes sense. Now you can do things like that. Now the user can analyze further. So now I can just, you know, see all the business units, or just see, all right, what's going on within electronics, and I see this result. Or I would still prefer this one. You can also, you know, crop the axis, or you can just click on a personal care, and now you see, you know, those four, and it's obvious that you have one big business unit here in your personal care division, which is much better, and has 15.7% and so on. And if you have data visualization problems like this, big charts, small charts, then you can use the small multiples, the advanced layouts in small multiples. Like the automatic layout will just try to take, you know, see if there are some big values, and then we'll try to put other charts in a better placement. And also you can play around with the so-called largest first algorithm, which will just take care of really big ones, and this usually presents better results for if you have large differences between data categories. All right, so this is already starting making sense, but we need to move forward. The first thing is then the next thing would be the year-to-date switch. All right, I promised you that one. Year-to-date switch. I will use the month here. I'll take the month, and now this time I'll use the month as a filter again on the page, so the user can simply select, you know, their month, like August. All right, now what happened here? So now this, of course, the slicer filters all the visuals on the page. So when I switch to September, you know, this part, the table part here is okay. It's values for September, but the trends are broken. I mean, I just have the September here. So you control this if you click on the slicer, and now you can go to format settings, and you have this edit interactions field here. When you say, all right, I want this slicer to control everything, but not my time series. So when the September is when a month is selected here, it's not affecting my time series. All right, so this is just the most simple way how to control the you know, which visuals are affected by a slicer. All right, now we need the switch. So we'll say, all right, August or August year to date. How to do this in Power BI? Let's go here to my data view, and now we will add another table, or we can actually do it here. So we'll add another table just for this monthly versus year-to-date switch on my dashboard. This is called a disconnected table because it's just going to be a switch with two values, and we'll do it by pressing enter data here, and we'll just create another table, which I will call, let's say, period calculation. And here I will have my column. This will be my period calculation, and the next one will be so I'll have monthly and year to date, and I'll also add a number. So I'll just call it calculation, let's say calculation ID. All right. And all right, so now we'll have monthly. This is my first option, monthly. This is number one, option number one. Option number two is year to date, number two. That's it. Just load this. So I created this little table here. All right, it's here. It should be somewhere near your calendar, right? And now if you go back to my model, now I have this period calculation here, and I can just take this period calculation column. I'll just move it here. And you see I have monthly option, year-to-date option. Let me make a little bit more space here. All right, and I'll change this visual to a slicer again, but this time I will use the, I'll just make it horizontal. So now this looks like this. So see, now I have a nice little button here where I can simply click on monthly or year-to-date values, but of course nothing is happening yet because it's not related to other visuals and so on. So we need another DAX trick here. I'll create a new measure and I'll call it the selected calculation, like that, and I will simply return the selected calculation, and I'll do this by using the min function, min DAX function, and I'll simply return the minimum calculation ID. Here it is. All right, and that's it. That's it. This is really simple. Let's see if it works. I'll just drop this into my report. Let's display it as all right. Monthly, year to date. It's working. All right. So selected calculation. Now I've got this. And how will I link this to my model? I will go back to my revenue AC measure, which at the moment simply returns, the filtered column from my sales fact. So I'll do this in two steps actually. So I will just rename this measure. I'll call it filtered. All right, revenue AC filtered. So I'll just leave it like that. All right. So this is the old one. And now I'll add a new one that will take into account the selected calculation. And actually, if the value is 2, calculate the year to date. All right. So let's create this measure. So this will be now my true revenue AC measure. All right. So now I need to do this switch, right? Guess what's the function name for that in DAX? Switch. Switch, and this is a nice little DAX function. All right. You evaluate the expression. In my case, I am gonna evaluate the selected calculation. All right, and now simply, all right, let's go into new line. So incidentally, that's Shift Enter, and now if the value is 1, I simply return my previous measure, which is now called the revenue AC filtered. All right, but now in the second case, I need to return the year to date. So I will calculate my revenue filtered, all right, so that I get the year-to-date value. And there's the function that does this is called the dates year-to-date. All right, that's it, dates year-to-date, and you just need to refer date column from the calendar table. So that's it, and one more and one more. And that's it. So now now my measure revenue AC just evaluates the selected calculation from my switch and does the switch and calculates year to date if necessary. Enter. All right, this measure is prepared. So let's click on the visual. I'll just throw out the old one and throw in the new one and hope it works. Something happens. Let's check this. All right, this is okay. It's very green. Why? Because now I'm comparing my actuals. This is now year to date and comparing to my previous year. My previous year, let's check this. Previous year still refers to my old measure, so I'll just correct this. So now previous year will be calculated from the new one, so it'll work for monthly, for year to date. All right, enter. This is better. This is better. We're getting somewhere. You see all these options, different options, how to display the year to date. Let's just check the design here. Just remove this. Fix this table as well. This one also has the old one. So the old one will just hide from the model, and just from now on, we'll just use the revenue AC, which takes into account the monthly, the year to date, and it just will work across the whole dashboard. And this is all happening in the same visual. That's important. It's just one visual, and everything else is done by the switches and drop-down menus and so on. We don't need this anymore, and that's basically all the DAX that I actually wanted to show today, but I do have one more trick number 5, where we'll use the same idea with the switch, but this time I will use it to select the KPI. So to change the charts from revenue to, for example, gross profit and so on, because right now we have done this for revenue. So I have revenue, actuals, previous year. All right, I could do this also for the plan. All right, let's do the plan. Let's do the plan just quickly. I will copy this one and simply filter by the plan. All right, so this will be my revenue for the plan. Let's just do this quickly. New measure. Just copy this, and I'll do exactly the same for the plan, just to show you how. All right, so you've got this now, I guess. So this is my plan filtered, and now I need the plan, the measure for the plan that will also take the account the same switch. So I'll just simply copy this thing and insert a measure, paste this, and just rename it for the plan. And this one now, this is the switch. This will return normal plan, and in the second option, it will return the year-to-date values of my plan. Enter. All right, so now I've got the plan. So I've got the actual, the plan, the year-to-date, but all this for the revenue. So now imagine if you want to do this again for the gross profit, one option is just simply do all of that again for the gross profit and so on. Just add exactly those measures. So you can basically just copy and paste the same DAX for the measures. But of course, if you have 10 measures, then that's a lot of measures, right? So one problem is you'll get a lot of measures. And the other thing is, if you need to, when you want to use those measures on your report, you need to create another visual. So you need one visual for the revenue, the second one, you see, you need to throw in all the measures and so on. But I'll do something else. I will do the switch, and then I'll just reuse the same measure. All right. The idea is to add another disconnected table. So just do the same here, enter the data, and just repeat the whole procedure, but this time I will call this my KPIs table. Let's do it like this, KPIs table. My first column is KPI, and the second one will be Again, I'll have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 KPIs, so I'll just name this KPI ID. All right. My first one is the revenue, and this is KPI number 1. Then I have my costs. Oh, sorry, it's actually cost, should be costs, I guess. That's number 2, and the third one is the gross profit. This is now number 3. All right, I think this should work now. That's I'm loading this into my model, and I've got another disconnected table here. All right, and I can use this the KPI now as another switch. All right, I will change it to a slicer. All right, and I want this to just reflect in my dashboard. Let's make this a drop down, kind of nicer, and it'll fit my top navigation, I guess, better. All right, and now I do exactly the same here. I need my the measure that just returns the selection, so I'll call it the selected KPI. All right, and the selected KPI, again, the function was minimum, and this will return the minimum KPI ID, like that. That's better. Enter. This is now my selected KPI. Let's check if this works or not. Switch to card, revenue, gross profit, costs. It works. The order here is not really what I wanted, right? If you need to you see, this is now a custom order. Again, everything is sorted alphabetically in Power BI by default. So here I just need to set this in my model. KPI needs to be sorted by column KPI ID, which will now get my measures in the right order. If you see this, you see the card is not working anymore. The refresh should help now, because I have changed this. Sometimes this happens. I had those. I just learned that actually yesterday the hard way, but now that's working. Revenue is number 1, cost number 2, gross profit number 3. So that's now the custom sort exactly how I want it. And now what will I do now? Now I will just use another switch formula to return the measure that I want. So I will again create another measure. How should I call it? Like selected. This is now the real the measure, the value of the measure. So okay, I'll call it the selected value. So the selected value is switch, and now I will evaluate my selected KPI. So depending on the selection of the KPI, I will now return. Now I have 3 options. First option number 1 is returns the revenue. All right, so this is now my revenue. Let's do something else. I'll just calculate once again I'll return the sum of my, the filtered, no, that's okay, the filtered one. So do I need to filter? Let me just quickly check here in my final result. Do I have it here? I'll share my the working model and also the finalized model, which I did before. So I just want to make sure that I do exactly the same thing here. The selected KPI, and now we have a selected value. Okay, so that's again the same The same one. Where is this now? The selected value. All right. So yeah, I did the sum. All right. Good. Yeah. This will be better. So let's return back, and I'll just do the same. So the selected value, and all right. So this will now calculate the sum of my revenue. So sales revenue. That's it. So that's the first option. The second option is return not the sales revenue, but the second one is cost. So just return, you know, the column that I want. Not enter, but shift enter. And number 3 is the last one, which is gross profit. So switch simply returns, you know, a different column based on my selection in my slicer. Where's the, that's it. All right, so this is now my selected value. And now what I will do is I will go here and just correct my measure. So now this will not be the revenue actual anymore, but this will be just a generic actual value, which will return not the revenue actual, but the actually I have a better idea. I can do it here, I guess. Calculate exactly here. That's much better. So just, you know, on the source. So here, instead of returning actual for the revenue, I will return the actual for my new measure, selected value. All right, and that's it. And this is now not revenue anymore. It's actual data filtered, and it uses you know, the selected column. Maybe the selected column would be even better name. And now AC filtered, let's see, the revenue AC should be, what's wrong with this one? Probably some filter cell, selected value, calculate 1. Oops, this is not okay, and this is okay. Sorry about that. That's much better. So this is AC filtered, and now I go to my revenue AC, and this is already, everything is already working. I will just rename it. This is now my generic actual measure that takes into account the year-to-date here, and in my previous switch statement also the selection of the KPI, the selection of the column. Enter. Let's see if this works. Gross profit, revenue. Wow. So this is now revenue. So let's take a look. Baby care 2040 and something. What about gross profit? It's working. It's working. And of course, you would put this somewhere on the top and so on. And now this is a completely generic, you see, it works for everything. And you can simply use one visual and everything will work. So you can just now you can create pages in like minutes. All right, let's do this. Let me just put those slicers in order. In a dashboard, I would first put my first one would be revenue, then I would put probably the month, and then the year, and then my period calculation here. You would align everything, of course, and so on. If you want to save your real estate, quite important, then you can remove some of the headers, like for month, year, and so on. I think it's like self-evident. It's quite obvious, so you can simply slicer, you know, put the slicer header off, and I'll just do this for all my basic slicers here, just to, you know, keep it completely minimal and use the space for something better, which is the visualization tables and everything else. So that's it. You've got your page, and now you can simply you know, just copy the page and use the same thing for something, you know, for different types of things. For example, let's make this a big one. Now I can throw in the plan. All right, we should actually rename the plan as well. Yeah, we should rename the plan, and then you can use the plan as well. But we need to just fix it the same way we did the actual, and now you can just build, you know, the tables like this: previous year, actual, plan, with all the variances that you can just reshuffle around, and you have this nice little page done with only one visual like this. And you can just add details like business unit, and, you know, just add more levels. Let's create a hierarchy, like multi-dimensional, you know, multi-level hierarchy. And this is now month, this is year to date, this is, you know, revenue or gross profit. Everything is working. You can even do crazy things like crazy things like using the let's just copy here one. Let's just duplicate this. It's going to be easier, and now I'll remove the slicer. What happens if I remove the slicer? Everything still works. That's the magic of the min function, because even if slicer is not there, the minimum is still evaluated. It will return the option under 1, right? 1 is minimum. So this works. So I always get the revenue, and my default would be monthly, right? And I just wanted to show you something else. Now, instead of showing the business units here, I will use my KPIs. Look at that. I'll put my KPIs into group, and now I've got the small multiples of the measures, which is something almost, I think it's completely impossible in, you know, just normal Power BI, because now I have my revenue and I have my gross profit basically scaled in a small multiple, right? So understand what is the relation of gross profit to revenue, which is fantastic. And if I can use this as a filter in my visual, oh, it's already here, sorry, but so I can just maybe select just revenue and gross profit. You see, just compare this. Then you can do two-dimensional multiples, multi-dimensional multiples, like we had the group. And I'll just group by another field here, which creates the small multiples, two-dimensional small multiples. So I've got revenue and gross profit for all my business units or divisions and so on, like this, which is kind of crazy. And you can switch from monthly to year to date. You can compare the revenue and gross profit and everything else. And so all the ideas that you can get, just you see, it's very easy to build dashboard pages. You can just create 10 dashboard pages in like an hour or something, and yeah, you're done. You share, and that's it. My top 5 DAX tricks for today. That was it. I hope you enjoyed it. Now all the materials I will share. with you in the recording. Download the Zebra BI visuals. This is the download link. So there's a free trial available. If you want to, try this on your own, please just go to this website. If you don't have them, download them and you'll get the free trial so you can play around. We've got the resources on our webpage. We've got a help section with a lot of PBIX files, so Power BI files that you can simply download from the previous webinars and income statements and other stuff. It's quite interesting. And we've got the webinar recordings on this link. So make sure you check the webinar recording. There's 19 hours of the webinars of the recording material already on this link. So all our previous webinars from Power BI, Excel, reporting stuff. And if you need help, just shoot us an email at support@ZebraBI. Somebody will help you. And follow us. If you like this, if you like the ideas, please follow us, mention us, please just help us spread the word about this, and make sure you subscribe to our channels and so on, so you'll get notified about, the next webinars and videos and other stuff that we are doing. All right, hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you very much. See you in our next webinar. Bye.